Hello everyone, this is Mamu Minokomo. Nice to meet you all. Today, I would like to share a script that can automatically create WordPress sites with just a few commands. I will explain the details later, but first I would like to discuss some issues I encountered with Red Hat-based Linux systems, as this is very recent information that I think will be valuable for learning purposes. Those of you who have experience running WordPress probably understand that you do not frequently upgrade MySQL versions. This is true for rental servers as well. You cannot really upgrade unless you are using a version that has been thoroughly tested and verified. However, for learning purposes, I personally use the latest versions on my home server and cloud services. I have decided to deal with any issues that arise as they come up. Well, that should be enough for the introduction. Shall we get started? Right now in the video, we are trying to launch WordPress by running the corrected script.
Hello! It's really appealing that WordPress can be launched with just a single button press. So you're going to explain the troubleshooting process first, right?
Hello, Takayama-san. Yes, that is correct.
You guys are at it again? Why don't you just explain the script first?
Do not be silly. That would not be educational for our viewers at all. Even with the help of AI, if you do not have any background knowledge, you will not know what questions to ask. I think you need to put in some effort on your own. Now then, let us tackle the problem we encountered. As usual, this happened while I was running WordPress. The backup script that had been working fine suddenly stopped functioning after updating MySQL to version 9.1. While WordPress itself was running without any issues, the database that was supposed to be automatically backed up started outputting empty files.
I see. This version of MySQL was indeed just recently released.
Yes, that is right. Even when trying to back up manually, we get an error. I was prepared for the lack of information since it was just released. Let's check the MySQL version just to be sure.
That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's important to be clear about the version number.
As you can see, the MySQL version is indeed 9.1. When we zoom in on the error message and MySQL version, it looks like this. Let's try some other methods just to be thorough. Fortunately, the container is running normally, so let's connect to it and check things out.
Yes, it's important to try different approaches. These kinds of problems rarely get solved on the first try.
No good. This is not working.
Let me check something here. I can see this is a Red Hat-based host. Would we have seen the same error if it was Debian-based?
Actually, when Ubuntu is the host, we do not get this error. Maybe it's because the host and content are the same in that case.
And one more thing, you've been trying to back up, but can you even connect to the database in the first place?
I have not checked that. I will do it right now.
I see, so checking the connection should be the first step. The order of troubleshooting is important. I've learned something here.
Oh, I cannot even connect to it. I took a short walk to clear my head. I think I am starting to understand what's going on. So let me summarize the problems first. Regarding this database, initially we could connect to it from external sources. Then, suddenly, we started getting error messages about the root local user, which should not have existed in the first place. I tried with other uses as well, and often, though external access was definitely permitted, for some reason we keep getting error messages about local users.
This is quite troublesome. Have you found any solution?
Yes, since we cannot log in after the upgrade, it's possible that the authentication method has changed somehow. It seems that with version 9.1, the authentication methods have become more strict. This is just my Speculation, though. I do not want to make any definitive claims without evidence. There is a possibility we might be able to resolve this by temporarily bypassing authentication. So, let's try that approach. First, let's create a temporary directory. In this video, we will create it where our main files are located. We will use this directory to copy the mounted database information.
I understand this. Since we don't have the data in .SQL format, if we lose this, we lose everything.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, let's mount and copy the database files that are on the host. Then, we will specify these copied database files and launch a new container.
Wow, that's a long command. What exactly is it doing?
To explain it very simply, it's a command that bypasses authentication, backs up the database. For detailed information about the options, please check the link in the video description. Now, let's verify if the mounted database files have been exported to .SQL format.
Applause, congratulations, the backup completed successfully.
Thank you! Now we can finally move on to our main topic. I have already placed the corrected files on GitHub, so I will copy them to my computer. The process is actually quite simple. In the clone files, there is a setup file that we need to give execution permissions to. In the video, I am working remotely on my Ubuntu computer at home, but you can do this with WSL as well. After that, just run the setup file and the container will launch automatically.
You've done great work. I'm sorry to ask when you must be tired, but could you introduce the features of this script?
Sure thing. I will demonstrate it later, but it automatically performs database backups. Of course, all related files remain on the host through container mounting. The benefit of saving the database in .SQL format is that it makes migration much easier. In other words, as long as you have the WordPress files and the .SQL format file, you can migrate to any server.
I see, but couldn't plugins handle all of this too? Though I might not be one to talk, since I rarely use plugins myself.
Yes, of course they could. However, there are other benefits to creating your own solution. So, let me give you some practical examples. The learning experience itself is the biggest benefit, of course. Actually, I am experimenting right now. WordPress posts I create on my home setup are being reflected in the production environment's WordPress installation. Well, achieving that does require additional scripts like URL replacement tools. Now, let's verify that the container has started properly and then try accessing it through the browser. In this video, the container is installed on a different computer, so the URL looks like this. I will quickly install WordPress, so please wait a moment. Since I am not trying to explain how to use WordPress, I will fast forward through this part. What we want to verify is whether WordPress persistence working properly and if the backup is successful. I will also create one sample post.
Good work. That completes the preparation phase.
Yes, now I will verify that everything is working properly internally. To make it easier to understand, I will show the directory hierarchy visually.
As expected, VS Code is really convenient and user-friendly.
Yes, now let's check the state of the database from when we wrote that article. Okay, the backup is working properly. Now, I will stop and remove the container to verify persistence.
By the way, did you explain the prerequisites for this script?
Oops, I forgot to mention that.
You fool, you should have said up front that Docker and Docker Compose are required.
I'm so sorry. Now, let's launch the container again. The startup method is the same as before, just run the setup file.
One might think this would normally require a fresh WordPress installation, right? So you use this same setup file for all subsequent runs too?
Yes, for second and subsequent runs, it checks the existing files, for WordPress will not be reset. The database backup is performed after the container starts up. Usually, you will keep the container running in which case it automatically backs up every 24 hours.
Looking at the video, it seems the database isn't overwritten. Instead, a new backup file is created for each point in time.
Yes, I designed it this way because we might need access to previous database versions. Let's verify in the browser just to be sure. Yes, everything looks good. So, today I have introduced a method for easily setting up WordPress. In future videos, I plan to share more specialized and original content. Well then, everyone, until we meet again, goodbye.